Welcome to my pantry countertop build. Hi, I'm Claire and I'm in the middle of building a pantry nook. Here's a look at the space before and what I've built so far. It's definitely not finished yet, and right now I'm working on adding a countertop to this built-in. To keep costs low, I picked up an inexpensive laminated pine board and I'm only spending around $20 in lumber. I started by cutting the board down on my chop saw to the right width. I wanted to fit between these cabinets. Now the issue with a pine board is that it's only 3/4 of an inch thick, and I want a butcher block thickness, about 1.5 inches, to match traditional countertop height. To fix this, I'm measuring the exact depth I'd need and then ripping off an 1.5 inch strip, which I'll use for the front, and I'm cutting it at a 45-degree angle so that I can make a seamless joint when I glue it back on. So let's start that process. First, I adjust the angle on my table saw to 45 degrees. To ensure I get the exact depth I need, I always make a couple test cuts on scrap material first. Once I have that measurement nailed down and my table saw fence set, I can rip the board. I like to use this feather board on my table saw because it keeps the board tight against the fence and prevents kickback, making it much safer and smoother process. So here's the strip I ripped off. I cut it at that 45-degree angle, and this will clad the front of the countertop. Here's another angle so you can see it better. Now I have a gap underneath where the strip will meet the main board, so I need to beef that area up too. I grabbed a scrap piece. I think this is just a cutoff from a 2x4, and I ripped it down to the exact height I need. Since we've increased the thickness at the front, I also cut some scrap blocks to place under the back of the countertop to keep it level once it's installed. Next, it's time to glue that filler strip to the 45-degree front strip. I'm applying glue generously and clamping it together. A big tip here, have your clamps preset and ready to grab. That way, when you start gluing, you're not scrambling. To spread the glue evenly, I'm using this silicone glue brush. It really helps make sure all the surfaces are fully coated. As I clamp the two pieces together, I pay close attention to keep the edges flush on either side, both visually and by feeling it. This glue says it's strong enough after 30 minutes, but I prefer to let it dry longer, up to 24 hours, if I'm not in a rush. While the glue is still wet, I'm running a sanding sponge along the back seam to push the sawdust into the glue. This acts like wood filler to fill in the small gaps. Once this strip is glued up, it has sort of an L-shaped profile, and this is how the front strip is going to connect to the main part of the countertop. That extra block that was glued underneath will help fill the void on the side of the countertop that will be visible once it's installed. And don't worry about how the wood looks seamed together here. I have a solution for that, which I'll show you later in the video. Again, I'm applying a generous amount of glue here. It's crucial the glue covers the entire surface of both pieces. And so I glue the front strip to the countertop board itself. Again, having the clamps out and dry fitting the pieces ahead of time is key so that you're ready when it's go time. While gluing, I focus on clamping two ends first, letting the glue squeeze out, wiping it away, and then sanding immediately. This lets the sawdust fill in any imperfections and leaves a smooth finish. Once I have one side done, then I repeat the process on the other side. I'm using a micro sander here, starting with a higher grit sandpaper and finishing with 220. Once the ends are clamped, I flip the board over. I place parchment paper in between the countertop and my work surface to protect it from the glue. So I remove the parchment paper and wipe off any excess glue immediately. At this point, I put a couple cross clamps on to keep this strip tight to the main board. As I do this, more glue seeps out, and I'm just making sure to wipe it right away as I continue to add more clamps wherever it is needed. Then I start the process of making this seam disappear with a technique called burnishing. To burnish the edges, I'm using the shaft of a screwdriver. You could use any sort of rounded tool, and I'm applying pressure at a 45-degree angle along the seam. This closes the gap and blends the fibers for a seamless look. The harder you press, the more the edge rounds over, so practicing on a few scrap pieces first might be beneficial. I work in sections, moving the clamps as needed to burnish the whole edge. As I'm burnishing the edges, I wipe off the glue and residue, and I'm lightly sanding with a micro sanding sponge as I go. Then I leave this glued and clamped for 24 hours to get a really nice tight bond since I'm relying slowly on the glue and not using nails here. Once dry, I set the countertop in place for a dry fit just to check the level and fit. It's not finished yet though. I need to deal with the raw edges and get it stained. And to do that, I'm going to apply a paint wash and a stain method that is going to disguise the seams on the edge and make it feel like one solid piece of countertop. First, I apply a little bit of wood filler into the seams just to ensure everything is well filled. I don't add a lot here and I sand it really smooth. It's just want to make sure that I filled in any of like the pittiness of the grain or if there's any part of the seam that isn't completely filled. Then I cover it with my paint wash technique, which I will explain next. I use this paint wash stain on faux beams, locker bench, my pull-out laundry racks, and so I want to make sure that this countertop is matching those features that is in the same room I'm doing the makeover. I want to make sure that the wood has this consistent tone throughout. So here's how the process goes. Step one is the paint wash. I'm using Sherwin-Williams Antler Velvet, and it's thinned with a bit of water. You can get these color matched at Home Depot's little small paint pots, so you don't have to buy like a whole gallon. I brush this over the entire countertop. It's thick enough to cover like, the really dark knots, but it's transparent enough to let the wood grain still show through. And then after that dries, I sand it with 220 grit sandpaper. At this stage, I check for imperfections. I had one part of the seam where I had a little bit of a flaw, not a big deal, but I wanted to make sure that I had that completely filled with wood filler. So I filled that, and then also another knot that was looking a little funky. So I filled that and then sanded that as well. And then since I had the filler out, I just blended the seam underneath the countertop where I had added that filler strip. It was definitely not necessary because no one's going to be looking underneath the countertop. But since it required a minimal effort, I just decided to go ahead and do it anyways. And then once all of those areas were sanded, I just touched it up with the paint wash once again and just lightly covered the countertop. I'm not worried here if it looks a little bit splotchy because we're going for sort of a grain effect anyways. And then once again, once that was dry, I gave it a sand with the 220 grit sandpaper. At this stage, you want to be able to still see the grain through the wood. So you're sanding it enough that you're taking off a little bit of that paint wash and able to just lightly see the grain through the wood like you can see here. For step two, I'm just adding highlights. I'm using Sherwin-Williams Malabar for this step. And what I'm doing is following the wood grains that are visible through the paint wash, and I'm just highlighting them with a very thin artist brush. I just got this one at the dollar store. And then I take a dry brush and run it over it to blend and dry it. Immediately after, I sand with 220 grit sanding sponge until it is nicely blended. The highlights stand out but aren't like overpowering. It can look a little odd at this stage, but trust me, once the stain goes on, it really brings out those lowlights and highlights. So here you can see the difference between where I've highlighted and where I haven't. And this is the grain that I'm just following. I'm basically just tracing the grain with the paint wash effect. So here's a closer view. I am taking my little artist brush, dipping it in the paint, then putting it in the water to thin it out ever so slightly, and then basically just tracing those grain lines onto the countertop. Then immediately blending it with a dry brush, which also kind of dries the paint, and then following that up with the sanding sponge. And I am just continuing this whole process over the entire surface of the countertop, working in sections, and then also making sure that I hit those edges, the end grain areas that we were blending in as well. And then for step three, I just did a light paint wash. Since I wanted a bit more of a lighter tone, I mixed down the Malabar color with some water for a very watered down version of the paint wash and just applied that over the whole surface. And then I let that dry. I finished with a quick sand using a 600 grit sandpaper. Anything between a 400 and a 600 grit will do. And this is how it looked after doing that paint wash step. This is my first time actually adding in this step while doing this method. And so my advice to you would be to just play around with it and have fun. I felt like it needed a little bit more definition, so I added this in, but it's not necessary. Just do whatever you think looks best for your project. And here's a look of how it looks underneath where I blended in the seam from the filler strip. And I'm really glad that I did because it looks so seamless. I know you're probably never really going to see under here, but it just feels nice to have it fully finished like this. And then moved on to step 4, which was the gel stain. I'm using Varathane's gel stain in dark walnut with a stiff brush that I got from the dollar store. I'm dragging the stain along the grain, mimicking sort of like a butcher block grain pattern. And then after applying that strip with the brush, I blend it in right away with a paper towel. The gel stain is very thick, so a little bit goes a long way here, and you want to sort of like drag it along with that brush so that you're leaving like little splotches, almost like a grain pattern. So when you come back with the paper towel, it's not actually filling in the entire strip that you've left there. You have some variation of gel stain to the paint wash underneath. Once I've done the entire top part of the surface, I do blend it in again lightly with a paper towel, and then I'm following up by doing the same method along the front face and the underneath portion of the countertop. I let this gel stain cure for a few hours. When the gel stain is no longer tacky to the touch, then I will come in with the 600 grit sandpaper again and give it a light buff along the top. This just helps bring the sort of rich tones of the gel stain and push it into the grooves of the grain and give a really nice effect. And then I move on to step 5, and I'm just using a traditional oil-based stain here. It's Varathane's classic oil-based stain in the color dark walnut. Unlike the thick gel stain, this is a thinner, more traditional stain, and I'm applying it with a cloth in the same manner, working with the grain in long strips. I leave this on for a few minutes and then lightly wipe it off. You can repeat this step as much as needed to get the darkness or variation you want with your stain finish. I let this dry overnight and then sand it lightly with the 600 grit sandpaper. The last step is sealing the countertop with polyurethane, and then once it's sealed, it is ready to be installed in the built-in. And that's the countertop done. This is just one part of my pantry nook makeover, so stick around. There's so much more to come, and you won't want to miss the next steps. Thanks so much for watching.